Welcome, students, to week 9, where we're going to be focusing again along this journey of focusing on the church's response to globalization. This week, we're talking about responding to the cultural globalization of the internet, or as Callaway and Bulger describe it, becoming a digital neighbor. So, Callaway and Bulger suggest in the introduction to the book 3 questions that we have to ask when we're talking about becoming a digital neighbor. The first question is, who is our digital neighbor? The second one is, how do we become a neighbor to them? And then a subset of that question is, what does it mean to love our digital neighbor? So let's start with, who is our digital neighbor? And the first question we have to ask is, what is human? That is the question that is raised by artificial intelligence. There are 2 schools of artificial intelligence that see the entities that are being created, not necessarily the robots that currently exist, but the robots that will exist given the trajectory of technology. That there are 2 schools that see those robots as close enough to be human, to be indistinguishable from human. That when we started out programming computers as minds, they did what we told them to do. But now the technology is at the point where they do what we don't expect them to do, that they're actually creative. And so the idea that both these schools share is that that's the first step in becoming an entity that, like I said a minute ago, is indistinguishable from human. So the first question we have to ask is, are these robots human? And there are 2 essays at the beginning of the book. I'm having you read Hertzfeld's essay, but Delio's essay is also very interesting if you have extra time, because Delio believes that we do have to treat these entities as human and then works with that theologically. Hertzfeld believes that we don't, that Hertzfeld makes a very strong argument for the concept that artificial intelligence can never be human. And she bases that on how we define what is human. That she says that secular folks often define what is human by intelligence, which is in itself very hard to define. But in Genesis 1, it's not intelligence that makes us made in God's image. It's agency, that we're doing the work of God, we're representing God, and we're doing it in relationship with God and with other people and with the whole creation. So it's agency and relationship that defines us as human for Hertzfeld, which is why artificial intelligence is not human. First of all, because it can't have true agency, because it doesn't have the freedom to do anything other than what it is programmed to do. So that even if it becomes creative, that still is connected to its core programming. And you can't love if you don't have the freedom to not love. Love doesn't mean anything without freedom. It's not love. Secondly, that Hertzfeld says that in our body, that we are embodied, our body has emotions. And emotions give us the capacity for empathy. We can't feel with a suffering person unless we can feel. And then thirdly, because human beings are programming these machines reflect human sin. They can't reflect, it's not possible for them not to. But they reflect human sin without the capacity for redemption or the guidance of the Holy Spirit. So that's what Hertzfeld says. Hertzfeld says that robots are not our digital neighbors. If you want to go deeper into this, like I said, you can read Delio's article and you can think about the debate between them and whether or not we do have a responsibility to be neighbors to and with our robots. So you can think about that. But whether or not we need to be neighbors to artificial intelligence, the internet has called us to be neighbors to everyone everywhere who is human. So humans everywhere. We have a global relationship now. And Callaway and Bulger talk about the implications of there being a whole cyberspace world that people meet in. That they say that where there is a human world, that God comes into that world, that's what the incarnation is about. So God is in the world of the internet, and as his followers, we have to follow him there. So we have to be incarnate in the world of the internet. And part of what that implies is what Gorel, who is the last essay in the book, calls an interested conversation. That we can't ignore these questions about what it means to be human, about what it means to be a global neighbor, that we actually have to enter into the conversation fully as an interested participant. So then the next question is, how do we love our digital neighbor well? So the Hope Chang article suggests that we need a dialectical perspective on the Internet of Things. Let me define the Internet of Things, because you'll hear that phrase a lot in this new universe. It means, according to Hope Chang, a dense global ecosystem of connection devices and applications, which of course is fed by big data. So the first prescription that Hope Chang gives the church is that we need to not adapt to and adopt all things internet uncritically. That there is a temptation to use these new tools to evaluate our ministry and our mission and to help create more effective strategies. And that's accurate, that we actually can use them, but we can't use them uncritically, or at a minimum, we can end up measuring the wrong thing. That we can measure numbers of bodies in the pews, but we can't measure what's happening with the heart and soul of people, which of course is at the core of discipleship. So we really have to be careful about uncritical examination, because we could end up measuring the wrong thing in terms of understanding whether we're faithful to God's call. Secondly, as we've been learning already, the internet can be discriminatory, and we can add to that discrimination if we use it uncritically. And the article by Campbell on the way that memes are used to provoke hatred of Muslims, because these are very superficial, powerful and superficial ways of communicating. So these are all areas that we need to be aware of, which doesn't mean that we can't use the tools intelligently. So I've given you the video on the creation of and this was through Fuller, the creation of a patience app to be used with young people. It was created, it was tested, and I really do suggest you see the video. It's a little long because it's fascinating. But it was particularly effective in the area of developing interpersonal patience and positive habits around patience. So certainly there are all kinds of possibilities that maybe our churches and missions and ministries are not taking advantage of for how to use these tools intelligently. Of course, we all know that these tools are good for communication and proclamation, and we need to use them for that. But we are also called to advocacy, and that's advocacy around all the ways that the internet exploits and violates and discriminates. So we need to really be in that conversation, that's part of what an interested conversation is, not just a theoretical philosophical conversation, but an actual conversation about how to put some boundaries and brakes on some of the negative aspects of the internet. So lastly, Callaway and Bulger suggest that we practice Sabbath resistance. It's very simple, but very powerful, which is that we unplug and we get our churches to unplug at regular intervals so that we can step back, so that we can regain what is naturally lost through the cultural globalization of the internet. So thank you.